Let's flip our gears to Kenya, where another 200 Kenyan police officers have left for Haiti under a United Nations-backed mission to try to quell rampant gang violence in the troubled Caribbean nation. Senior police officers did declare this on Tuesday. The deployment comes after the East African nation sent some 400 officers to the violence-ravaged Haitian capital, Port-au-Prince, in June as part of a controversial offer to send some 1,000 police to help stabilize the country. The promise made by the embattled President William Ruto, who is trying to calm reeling anti-government protests at home, has run into persistent legal challenges in Kenya. Joining me on the program to discuss this is Deya. He's a legal practitioner. He joins in from Accra, Ghana, virtually. Donald, thank you for joining me. Now, another 200 Kenyan police officers are sent to Haiti in the midst of a country ravaged in protest. What do you make of this?
It is extremely hypocritical. It is the epitome of bad governance. The people of Kenya have never supported deployment of Kenyan police men and women to Haiti. So William Ruto is doing this against the expressed wishes of the Kenyan people. There are two court cases against this deployment. One of them had an interim stop order. If one reads the law creatively, you could say that Ruto has bypassed the stop order by at least signing some sort of bilateral agreement with some people in Haiti. The people in Haiti have said very clearly that according to their constitution, they do not have a valid government. And those imposters in Haiti who purported to sign this on behalf of the Haiti people have themselves since been deposed. So we have an illegal agreement. The Kenyan police have proven that they do not abide by the Kenyan constitution and they do not abide by UN law and international law when it comes to policing. They're an illegal force. So we are exporting illegalities under the cover of the UN. And I actually demand that the UN calls for a withdrawal of the Kenyan police because UN special mechanisms have already criticized Kenyan police because of their conduct.
I mean, so why go ahead? I mean, why did the president decide to go ahead with this? What does, Kenya stand to gain?
President William Ruto has situated himself as the house nigger of the 21st century, as the errand boy of the imperialists, of the US government. So he's doing this because Joe Biden asked him to do this and because he likes being nice to Joe Biden as against being nice to his own people. So this is because the Americans have messed up with Haiti over centuries. They know that they cannot show their face there as Americans. So they're using their stooges like William Ruto to do their bidding, to continue their domination of the people of Haiti against the wishes of the people of Haiti. William Ruto has agreed to be used. And I send a shout out to my brothers and sisters from Haiti that this has nothing to do with Kenyans. This is William Ruto, the house nigger.
Now, from what we also understand, of course, Kenya's National Police Service issued a statement to squash rumors that 7 officers have been killed in Haiti. According to them, they said that the forces there were warmly received or welcomed and that all is safe and ready to discharge, their clear and specific mandate. I would like you to speak to this.
That is clearly not true. That's a blatant lie. The people of Haiti have spoken, not just the armed actors in Haiti, whom I myself do not support, but the peaceful people of Haiti have spoken. We have been in Zoom meetings with our colleagues, Haitians in Haiti and Haitians in diaspora all around the world, and they've been very clear that they have clear ideas on how to get their country out of the crisis that it is in. And those ideas involve talks, and those ideas involve transitional forms of governance, which they've laid out in detail in their own documentation. So they don't need people to apply force to continue maintaining a status quo that they do not want. Contrarily, they have very clear ideas on what they want as a citizens, as a civil society that they've negotiated amongst themselves. And this exists for anybody that wants to look at them.
I mean, this is one question I've asked even before the protest, when this idea of sending meant to help Haiti, fight its gang violence and all of that. And the question of the capacity of Kenya, even though we know that, largely funded by the United Nations, but we know that some of the financial burden would also be, carried by Kenya. Does Kenya have the capacity and also the training? I'm talking about the men in boots, the men on ground there. Do they have the required training to face the gangs of Haiti?
One, if one wants to talk about money as a Pan-Africanist that wants to engage in a problem that affects Africans wherever they may be in the world, Kenya does have the money. Each African country has the money, and they have the obligation under the Constitution.
Kenya is a country that's swallowed up in debt at the moment.
That's what I'm telling you. We're getting to that. We're getting to that. We've got a very nuanced understanding of this debt issue in our country and in any country in Africa. We actually spend a lot of time studying it. Our countries have the money. The fact that our elites steal the money and loot the money and use it for their private aims rather than for the public good doesn't mean the money is not there. If Kenya were to cut corruption by half, it would be able to meet its debt repayments on time, on schedule. We've got a whole other question around whether that debt is legitimate, whether it ought to be paid in another place, in the first place, but that's another question. So our countries do have the money. Corruption and illicit financial flows is what takes away the money. So the money is not the problem. The second part of it, and of course, even though the money is not the problem, for any money to be used, it must be voted for by Parliament properly according to our financial laws. So if we wanted to deploy money to help the problem in Haiti, or the problem in Sudan, or the problem in the Sahel, or the problem in the Great Lakes, we should be able to do that as conscientious Africans, and this must be voted for by the Parliament after public participation as provided for by our laws. That's the money element. Do Kenyan police have the training to do civilian policing in a third country at this time? One, they do not even have the training to do proper civilian policing in their own country in a situation where there's no war. They don't have it. They don't have it shown any predilection that they want to do it. Now they want to go and do it thousands of miles away in a country of Africans, yes, but Africans that speak French, Creole, and so on. It's a joke. It's a joke. Policing is first and foremost about winning the hearts and minds of the community. Right now, the Kenyan police has no capacity of doing so at all. And in any case, the Haitian people have said they don't want it. They don't think that an armed solution to the problem that they face is what will get them out of what they're in. So no, we have no right to be there. Our policemen and women have no right to be there. And they don't have the capacity to do a decent job of it.
All right, let's bring it back home. Talking about the current protest in the country. Some are of the opinion that, the president has, bent, to a very large extent when it comes to the demands of the protesters in terms of the tax withdrawal of the financial tax bill, and also he has practically emptied his cabinet. And right now they're saying, you know what, Mr. President, we need you to go. Do you think that the demands of the protesters is just a line too long?
First, I'm a Gen X, so I don't speak for Gen Z. They can speak very perfectly for themselves, and they've shown us that. But my own estimation of the demands that they're making is that the president hasn't met them. They want a total reset to how Kenya is organized, how Kenya is constituted, how Kenya is run. And they seem to be clear that the biggest problem is William Ruto. So they want him gone. And they have the power to do that under Article 1 of the Constitution, which says the sovereign power of Kenya resides in the people of Kenya, and they may exercise it either directly or delegate it to arms of government that they proceed to depute in the Constitution. So the Constitution allows for the people of Kenya to remove William Ruto if they want. And we cannot limit them in that. So being conservative, looking at old ways of government, old ways of stability, old ways of causing transition, is what shows that we're part of the problem that the Gen Z are complaining about. We Gen Xers and those that came before us are too stuck in our ways that we think things might happen in only particular ways. The Constitution of Kenya is broader than that.
So you feel that their demands are valid?
Yes. First, they own Kenya. So their demands are valid because they're Kenyans. But also, their demands are totally in keeping with the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya 2010.
How do you think this will eventually pan out?
I don't know. And I think anybody that tries to be a soothsayer that says they know 100% how this is going to pan out will probably be lying to you. What it is very clear the people of Kenya have said, and that's a generation of my children. My own son was on the streets. What the people of Kenya are saying is that they want a total moral reset to how we've handled our public affairs. And they're entitled to do that. So I just hope that they keep on having the resilience, the stamina, the momentum to go the whole hog until there's a total moral reset. They've clearly said they want competent government, they want clean government, they want non-corrupt government, they want meritorious appointment, they want responsiveness to the people. They've said that very clearly. And they've clearly said that the church, especially the Christian church in Kenya, has become part of the problem, laundering these corrupt politicians, receiving money that they know is stolen from the public by way of donations every weekend in church. So it is clear the young people are saying the reset must also affect the faith-based sector in Kenya, especially the Christian movements. So I think their demands are very clear. And they've said they do not need to dialogue with William Ruto about this. They just want the things they've listed to be done. And I support them 100% in that.
Deya, legal practitioner, speaking with me from Accra, Ghana. Thank you so much for your time on the program.
And thank you for having me.
All right. Well, this is where we drop the curtains. But before we go, I'd just like to speak to Nigeria and Nigerians out there. You know, just a few days back, I was watching a video of Nigeria's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission boss talking about Olukoyede. He was talking about an experience he had when he traveled out of the shores of the country and wanted to pay for a certain item. He brought out his card, but then the lady who was attending to him actually collected the card, I think paid for the item, but wanted to be sure that she was who she was speaking with, and then decided to do a copy of the card. And so he confronted her that, why did you make a copy of my card? And she said, it's just, you know, for due diligence. He said you didn't do that to the others. And then you understood at the moment that it was because of his identity, a Nigerian. Now, mind you, this lady was aware that he's the anti-corruption boss of the country. If a man at that strata can be, well, I use the word, slightly harassed, how much more an average Nigerian? I think this is a wake-up call for all of us, irrespective of our tribe, irrespective of our religion or our beliefs, that we need to change. And that change begins with you and I. On that note, I say thank you for watching. In case you missed out, you can follow up on YouTube. My name is Dakwadi Boy. Bye for now.